"Mom, my father-in-law hit me." Those words, spoken by my daughter Claire over the phone, sliced through my chest like a razor blade. I was at work, reviewing corporate tax documents, when I saw her name flash on the screen. It was noon. Claire never called me at that hour. "Honey, what happened?" Silence. Then, her voice broke. "Mom, my father-in-law hit me because the food was too salty. My husband saw everything and didn't say a word. My blood turned to ice. Where are you?" "At their house, Mom. I'm locked in the bathroom. I'm scared." I hung up. My hands were shaking. "My name is Adrienne Vance. I'm 55 years old. I've worked my entire life as a CPA for a textile firm here in Chicago. I raised Claire on my own after separating from her father when she was 12. He was a cop, a good man, but life just took us in different directions. Claire was always quiet, obedient, and affectionate. When she met Ethan 3 years ago, I wanted to believe she had found a good man. He came from a very traditional family out of rural Indiana. His father was hard, dry, one of those men who never smiled, but Ethan seemed different. I was wrong. 20 minutes after that call, I was in my car, driving like a maniac toward their house in the suburbs. But I wasn't going alone. I had called Robert, Claire's dad. I told him everything in 30 seconds. "Don't say another word, Adrienne. I'm on my way." We met 2 blocks from the house. Robert was still in his uniform. I was carrying something else. When we stood before the front door, my heart was pounding so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. I rang the bell. Heavy footsteps. The door opened. It was him, Claire's father-in-law, Rodney, a large man with thick arms and a cold gaze that pierced right through me. "What do you want?" he asked with pure contempt. I didn't say anything. I just lifted what I was holding in my hand, and when he saw what it was, his face changed. Everything changed. Before I tell you what happened that day at that door, you need to understand how we got there. Because Claire wasn't always that terrified woman locked in a bathroom, cowering from her own father-in-law. There was a time when my daughter was free. I remember when Claire was 23. She had just finished her degree in early childhood education. Every Sunday, she came to my place for dinner. I'd make pot roast, mashed potatoes, and cornbread. She'd show up with her hands full of drawings her students had made for her. "Look, Mom, this kid drew me with wings. He says I'm an angel," she'd laugh. She had a clean, sincere laugh. She'd sit at the kitchen table, drinking coffee with a bit of cinnamon, telling me about her plans. She wanted to open her own preschool one day. She wanted to travel. She wanted to be happy. I'd watch her with the afternoon sun hitting her face through the window and think, I did it. I raised her alone, but I did it. Claire never gave me trouble. She never stayed out late partying, never lied to me, never disrespected me. She was a noble daughter, perhaps too noble. When her father and I split, she was 12. It was hard. Robert worked a lot of overtime. He was rarely home. I felt lonely. He felt misunderstood. There were no screams, no hits, no third parties, just silence. One day, he moved out. I stayed with Claire, but Robert never stopped being her father. He'd pick her up on Saturdays, take her to the park, the movies, or to get Chicago-style hot dogs at a stand they both loved. Claire adored him, and he adored her. Over the years, Robert and I learned to be friends. We weren't a couple anymore, but we were parents, and that bond never breaks. Claire grew up seeing that a separation with dignity, without hate or vengeance. Maybe that's why, when she met Ethan, she believed all men were like her dad, fundamentally good, capable of change. She was wrong. Ethan appeared in her life 3 years ago. Claire was working at a kindergarten in Lincoln Park. He was a financial controller at a construction firm. They met at a mutual friend's birthday party. The first time Claire mentioned him, I noticed a change in her voice. "Mom, I met someone." "Oh? What's he like?" "He's serious, hardworking. He says he wants to start a family." That pleased me. Nowadays, finding a man who talks about family is rare. When I met him, Ethan seemed polite. He came to my house with flowers, shook my hand firmly, and called me Miss Adrienne with respect. He was tall, thin, with brown eyes and a shy smile. We talked for hours. He told me he was from a small town in Indiana, that his family was traditional, that his dad had been in the military and now owned an auto body shop. He told me he admired working women like me. He said raising a daughter alone was something he respected deeply. I wanted to believe him, but something unsettled me that day, something small, almost invisible. When Claire went to the kitchen to get more coffee, Ethan looked at me and said, "Miss Adrienne, I come from a family where the man provides and the woman takes care of the home. I understand Claire works, and that's fine for now. For now." Those 2 words stuck in my mind, but Claire was in love, and I wanted her to be happy. They got married a year later. It was a simple wedding in a garden in the north suburbs. Claire wore a white lace dress, simple but stunning. Robert walked her down the aisle. I cried. Ethan promised to love, cherish, and respect her. I believed him. The first few months were good. Claire came over often. She told me Ethan was attentive, that they cooked together, that they went for walks on Sundays. She seemed happy, but slowly, the visits became less frequent. "Mom, Ethan wants us to spend more time with his family." "Of course, honey. That's fine." Then she stopped coming on Sundays altogether. "Mom, my father-in-law invites us for Sunday dinner every week. He says it's a family tradition." "I understand, honey, but I miss you." She'd laugh, but it wasn't the same laugh. And then one day, I noticed something in her face, a shadow, a weariness that didn't come from work. "Claire, are you okay?" "Yeah, Mom, just tired." But her eyes said something else. I wanted to ask more, to insist, but I didn't, and that was my first mistake. Because when a mother feels something is wrong with her daughter, she must act, she must ask, she must break the silence. I didn't, and that omission, my silence, almost cost Claire everything. Now, standing in front of that door with Robert by my side and that object in my hand, I understood something. Sometimes a mother's love isn't just about being there, it's about being present, it's about acting, and that day, I was going to act. The first time I knew something was wrong was 6 months after the wedding. I didn't see it then. No one did. But looking back, I realize it all started there. It was a Saturday afternoon. Claire showed up at my house unannounced. That was already strange. Since the wedding, she always let me know before coming over. "Ethan wants to know where I am," she'd say. I thought it was affection, attention. It wasn't affection. That Saturday, Claire knocked on the door with trembling hands. Her eyes were red, as if she'd been crying. But when I asked if she was okay, she smiled. "Yeah, Mom, just came to see you." I hugged her. She smelled like lavender soap and a clean house, that mix of bleach and fabric softener she always used, but she also smelled like fear. I don't know how to explain it. Mothers can smell fear on their children. We sat in the living room. I poured her some iced tea. She held the glass with both hands as if she needed to cling to something. "How's Ethan?" I asked. "Fine, working a lot." "And your father-in-law?" She went silent for just a second, but that second was enough. "He's fine too. He's demanding, but that's just how he is." That word should have alerted me, but I didn't want to see it. Claire stayed all afternoon. We watched an old movie, one of those we used to watch when she was a little girl. We ate popcorn and laughed. For a moment, I felt everything was fine. But when she left, before getting into her car, she turned and said, "Mom, if I ever need to stay with you for a few days, can I?" My heart stopped. "Of course, honey. This is always your home. Why do you ask?" "No reason, just wanted to know." She left. I stood in the doorway, watching her drive away with a knot in my stomach that didn't leave all night. I should have called Robert. I should have gone to her house the next day. I should have asked what was happening. I didn't, because Claire told me everything was fine, and I wanted to believe her. Weeks passed. Claire stopped coming over. She didn't even call on Sundays anymore. I reached out, but she always had an excuse. "Mom, sorry, my father-in-law invited us over." "Mom, I can't. I have to deep clean the house." "Mom, Ethan wants us to visit his aunt." Always someone else, always another priority. And I, like a fool, thought, well, it's normal. She's a newlywed, building her life. But one afternoon, while I was at the grocery store, I saw Claire. She was in the produce aisle, picking out tomatoes. She was wearing a long-sleeved sweater, even though it was warm out. Her hair was pulled back in a low ponytail. She looked thinner. "Claire!" I yelled, excited. She turned. Her face lit up for a second, but then I saw it in her eyes, something like panic. Mom, what a surprise. I walked up and hugged her. She went rigid. How are you, honey? I haven't heard from you in weeks. Sorry, Mom, I've been busy. Busy with what? You don't even call anymore. You know, the house, work, Ethan. I looked at her closely. She had deep dark circles under her eyes. Her skin was pale. And when she moved to grab some onions, her sleeve slid up a bit. I saw a bruise on her wrist. Claire, what is that? She pulled the sleeve down quickly. Nothing, Mom. I hit it on the car door. The car door? Yeah, you know how clumsy I am. She smiled, but that smile didn't reach her eyes. I wanted to push. I wanted to grab her arm, take her home, sit her at the kitchen table and say, "Tell me the truth. What's happening to you?" But at that moment, her phone rang. She pulled it out. I saw the name on the screen, Ethan. Her face went blank. All the light vanished. Sorry, Mom, I have to take this. She stepped away. I stood there, pretending to check the avocados but listening. Yes, I'm on my way. No, I wasn't long. I'm getting what you asked for. Yes, your dad is already there. I know. I'm coming, Ethan. I'm coming. She hung up and walked back. She wasn't smiling anymore. Mom, I have to go. Ethan is waiting. So soon? We haven't even talked. I know. Sorry. It's just that my father-in-law arrived early and I have to get dinner ready. Does your father-in-law live with you? No, Mom, but he eats with us almost every day. You know, Ethan is his only son, and since his wife died, well, he's alone. Something tightened in my chest. And are you okay with that? Of course, Mom. It's normal. He's his father. It wasn't normal, but I said nothing. Claire gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, grabbed her cart, and almost ran away. I stood there in the middle of the grocery store with empty hands and a shrinking heart. That night, I couldn't sleep. I called Robert. Robert, we need to talk about Claire. What happened? I don't know, but something isn't right. Did she say something? No, but I saw her today. She has a bruise on her wrist, and she's thin and nervous. Do you think Ethan is hitting her? I don't know. She says no. But Robert, if you suspect anything, we have to do something. I know, but I can't accuse him without proof. What if I'm wrong? What if Claire gets mad at me? Robert sighed. Fine, but I'm going to talk to her alone. Thanks, Robert. I hung up, but Robert couldn't talk to her because every time he tried to see her, Claire had an excuse. She was busy. She was tired. Ethan couldn't make it that day. His father needed something, always something. And from a distance, I watched my daughter's light fade, bit by bit, like a candle someone is blowing on softly, constantly, until there's no light left. 3 more months passed. Claire turned 26. I hosted a dinner for her at my place. I invited Robert, her friends, and Ethan. Ethan arrived late. He was somber. He sat at the table without smiling, without talking to anyone. Claire was by his side, quiet, tense, as if she were waiting for an explosion. I tried to make the night pleasant. I made her favorite, lasagna, garlic bread, a nice salad. I put on music, brought out the cake, but the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. When we sang Happy Birthday, Claire tried to smile, but her eyes were full of tears. After dinner, Ethan stood up. We're leaving. My dad is waiting for us. Your dad? I asked. But it's Claire's birthday. I know, but he wants to see her too. She's his daughter-in-law. Claire stood up without a word. She gave me a quick hug. Thanks, Mom. It was beautiful. Honey, why don't you stay a little longer? Your friends just got here. I can't, Mom. Ethan is right. His dad is waiting. They left. I stood there watching the door close with half a cake on the table and the candles still warm. Robert walked over to me. Adrienne, that man isn't right. I know. And Claire isn't either. I know. We have to do something. But what, Robert? What do we do if she won't let us help her? He had no answer. No one did. And meanwhile, my daughter was losing herself. And I, her mother, didn't know how to save her until that day. That day she called me with a broken voice, saying, Mom, my father-in-law hit me, and I understood there was no more time for doubt. The time to act had arrived. After that birthday, something changed in me. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I couldn't keep waiting for Claire to tell me the truth, because the words of a suffering daughter don't always come. Sometimes silence screams louder. I decided to visit her unannounced. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I left work early, made an excuse to my boss, and drove to the house Claire shared with Ethan. It was a small, well-kept house in a quiet neighborhood, nothing fancy, but nice. It had a small front yard with some bushes. When I arrived, Ethan's car wasn't there. That gave me courage. I knocked on the door and waited. No one opened. I knocked again. "Claire, it's me, Mom." I heard slow footsteps, as if someone were debating whether to open up. The door opened just a crack. Claire peeked out. Her hair was down, messy. She was wearing an old t-shirt and sweatpants. She looked exhausted. "Mom, what are you doing here? I came to see you. Can I come in?" She looked behind her into the house, looking for something or someone. "Ethan isn't here," I said. I saw his car was gone. She breathed deeply and opened the door a bit wider. "Come in." I entered. The house smelled like bleach clean, but too clean, like someone had been scrubbing for hours. The living room was impeccable, the pillows perfectly fluffed, the coffee table without a speck of dust, everything in its place. Everything perfect. Too perfect. "Want some coffee?" Claire asked. "Yes, honey, thanks." We went to the kitchen, and there I saw something that broke my soul. On the wall, next to the stove, was a list, a handwritten list in a man's script. It said, "House rules. Dinner must be ready by 7 sharp. The house must be clean before I arrive. No visitors without notice. No leaving without permission. Respect my father as if he were your own." I froze. "Claire, what is this?" She kept making the coffee without looking at me. "Those are Ethan's rules." "Ethan's rules?" "Yes. He says a house functions better when there's order." "And you agree with this?" She went silent, poured coffee into 2 mugs, passed one to me, and sat across from me at the kitchen table. "Mom, I know you don't understand, but this is how his family works. His dad raised Ethan this way, and Ethan wants our home to be the same. And you? What do you want?" She lowered her gaze. "I want my marriage to work." "But is this a marriage, Claire? Or is it a prison?" She looked up. Her eyes were full of tears. "Don't say that, Mom. Honey, those rules. That's not normal. That's not love. That's control. It's not control, it's discipline. Ethan says modern women don't know how to be wives anymore. They don't know how to care for a home. He says his mom was different. She knew her place." "Her place?" "Claire, listen to yourself. Since when do you talk like this? Since I understood that if I want this to work, I have to adapt. Adapt or erase yourself." She stood up, trembling. "Mom, I appreciate you coming, but I don't need you telling me how to live my life. I chose to marry Ethan. I chose this. You chose this. Or did they convince you this was right?" "Enough, Mom!" Her shout took the air out of my lungs. Claire had never shouted at me, never. She covered her mouth with her hands, as if she couldn't believe what she'd just done. Tears began to fall. "Sorry, Mom, sorry. I didn't mean to." I stood up and hugged her. She collapsed in my arms. She cried like I hadn't seen her cry since she was a child. "I'm so tired, Mom. So tired." "I know, honey, I know. Ethan wasn't like this before. I swear. When we met, he was different, sweet, attentive. But after we got married, he changed. Or maybe I never really knew him. Has he hit you?" She pulled away and wiped her tears. "No, not him. He's never laid a hand on me." "Then who?" Silence. "Claire." "Who?" She closed her eyes. "His dad." The world stopped. "What?" "His dad. He screams at me. He tells me I'm useless, that I don't know how to cook or clean, that I'm not fit to be his son's wife, and sometimes he pushes me, or grabs my arm, or throws things at me. And Ethan? What does Ethan do? Nothing. He says his dad is right, that I need to learn, that his mother could handle more. I could hardly breathe. Claire, that is violence. No, Mom, it's not. It's just... His dad is from a different generation. He's one of those tough guys. You know how they are. No, Honey, that's not being from another generation. That's being abusive. And your husband is an accomplice. Don't say that. Why are you defending him? Because he's my husband. And so what? Does that give him the right to let you suffer? She went silent, staring at the floor. Her hands were shaking. I knelt in front of her. I took her hands in mine. Claire, listen to me carefully. You don't deserve this. You deserve a man who defends you, protects you, loves you for real. And if Ethan can't do that, then he isn't the man for you. But Mom, I love him. I know, honey, but love isn't enough. Love without respect isn't love, it's dependency. And dependency kills. She looked at me with eyes full of pain, and for a moment, I thought she would react. I thought she'd say, "You're right, Mom, get me out of here." But she didn't. Instead, she wiped her tears, stood up, and said, "Mom, I appreciate that you worry, but I'm fine, really. I'm just going through a rough patch. All marriages go through this." "No, Claire, not all." "Yes, Mom, you and Dad had problems too, but your father never let anyone disrespect me, and I never let him control me. Well, maybe that's why you guys split." Those words hurt more than I expected. Claire noticed. Her face shifted. "Sorry, Mom. I didn't mean that. I'm just confused. I'm tired. But I promise I'm okay. Really, I promise." I didn't believe her, but I couldn't force her to leave. I couldn't drag her out of that house because Claire wasn't a child anymore. She was an adult woman, and the decisions were hers, even if they were killing her inside. I said goodbye, hugged her tight, and told her if she ever needed help, she just had to call me any time, day or night. She nodded. She said she would, but I knew she wouldn't, because Claire was already trapped. And the worst part was she didn't see it, or maybe she did, but she decided to stay silent, to submit, to endure, like so many women before her. Like her grandmother, her great-grandmother, generations of women who learned that silent suffering was a virtue. I wasn't going to let my daughter follow that path. I left that house with a shattered heart, but also a certainty. If Claire couldn't save herself, I would do it for her. I called Robert that night. "I need you to be ready. If Claire calls, if she tells me something happened, I need you ready to act. What do you think is going to happen? I don't know, but something will. And when it does, I won't hesitate. I'm going for her. And if Ethan resists, we deal with Ethan and his father." There was a silence. "If his father gets involved, Robert, you're going to have to do your job. Understood?" I hung up and waited. I waited for weeks, for months, with a knot in my stomach and fear gnawing at me, wondering if I was overreacting, if I was being an overprotective mother, if Claire was really in danger, or if I was imagining it all. Until one day, while I was at work, my phone rang and I heard my daughter's voice broken, terrified, telling me, "Mom, my father-in-law hit me," and everything exploded. The months following that visit were the hardest of my life. I kept working, kept living my routine, but a part of me was always alert, always waiting, like an animal sensing a storm before the first drop falls. Claire called me occasionally, brief conversations, always with a controlled, measured voice, as if someone were listening on the other end. "Hi, Mom, how are you?" "Fine, honey. And you?" "Fine, too. Just calling to say hi." "Are you sure? Is everything okay?" "Yes, Mom, everything's fine. I have to go. Love you." And she'd hang up. I'd be left with the phone in my hand, feeling something was wrong but unable to do anything. Robert told me to be patient, that Claire had to realize it on her own, that if we pushed her, she'd pull away further. Maybe he was right, but patience hurts. It hurts like a slow knife through your chest every single day. One afternoon, while I was at the market, I saw someone familiar. It was Sarah, a neighbor from Claire's street. I knew her because once when I visited, she was watering her lawn and we'd said hello. "Miss Vance, right?" she said. "Yes, Sarah. Good to see you. How's Claire?" The question caught me off guard. "Fine." "Why?" Sarah lowered her voice and looked around as if she didn't want anyone else to hear. "I don't want to meddle, but I've noticed things." My heart started beating faster. "What kind of things?" "Well, sometimes I hear shouting from Claire's house, very loud male shouting, and once I saw Claire's father-in-law storm out of the house, slamming the door. He looked furious. And then I saw Claire at the window. She was crying. I closed my eyes and took a breath. When was this? About a month ago. I wanted to knock, but my husband told me to stay out of it, that it was family business. And have you seen Claire lately? Yes, but she hardly comes out anymore. I used to see her walking or going to work. Now, rarely. And when I do, she's always in a rush, like she doesn't want anyone to talk to her. And Ethan, he leaves early and comes back late. But his dad, that man, he's there almost every day. Sometimes he stays late into the night. Is Claire alone with him? Yes. Well, until Ethan gets home. My hands were shaking. Sarah, if you hear shouting again, can you call me? I gave her my number. Please. She's my daughter. She nodded. Of course. I have a daughter too. I understand. We said goodbye. I left the market without buying a thing. I got in my car and cried. I cried out of rage, helplessness, and fear because now it wasn't just suspicions. Now there were witnesses, shouting, and tears. And I, her mother, couldn't do anything. Or maybe I could. Maybe I could do something I'd been avoiding. I called Robert. I need you to look into Claire's father-in-law, Rodney Miller. I want to know who he is, what he's done, if he has a record. You think he has a record? I don't know, but a man who treats a woman like that, shouting, pushing, he didn't learn that from nowhere. Someone taught him, or he's always been this way. Fine, let me see what I can find. His name is Rodney Miller. Veteran, owns an auto body shop in Indiana. Got it. I'll call you in a few days. Robert had contacts. He knew how to dig. 3 days later, he called. Adrienne, I found something. What? Rodney Miller has a history. 15 years ago, his wife Ethan's mom filed a domestic violence report. My blood ran cold. What? Yeah, but she withdrew it a few days later. According to the report, she said it was a misunderstanding, that they were having marriage problems and it was resolved. After that, nothing. No more reports. But according to some old neighbors from back then, the shouting was constant. The wife stopped leaving the house. She became very quiet, very submissive. And how did she die? Officially? Cancer, 8 years ago. But some say the cancer wasn't the only thing that killed her. She was skeletal, weak, as if she'd given up on eating, as if she'd just surrendered. I felt like I was running out of air. Robert, that man, killed his wife. Not with one blow, but he killed her. He extinguished her bit by bit. I know. And now he's doing the same to Claire. And Ethan. Ethan grew up watching that. Watching his father scream. Watching his mother submit. He learned that's how a marriage works. The man commands. The woman obeys. And now he's repeating the pattern. I have to get Claire out of there. But she won't leave. Then I'll make her want to. How? I don't know, but I'll do something. I hung up. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stayed awake staring at the ceiling, thinking of Claire, thinking of that house, thinking of Rodney entering every day, screaming, pushing, destroying my daughter's soul, and thinking of Ethan, the man I thought was good, the man who promised to love her and who was now a coward, letting his father treat her like trash. I decided to do something risky. The next day, I left work early and drove to Claire's. I knew Ethan wouldn't be there. I knew it would just be Claire and Rodney. And that was exactly what I wanted. I arrived at 3 p.m. and rang the bell. No one opened. I rang again. Finally, the door opened. It was Rodney, tall, broad-shouldered, hard-faced, cold-eyed. What do you want? He asked in that tone men use when they think women don't deserve respect. I'm here to see my daughter. She isn't here. Yes, she is. Her car is right there. I pointed to Claire's car in the driveway. Rodney clenched his jaw. I said she isn't here. And I said I want to see her. We stared each other down. It was a silent duel, a clash of wills. I wasn't backing down. After a few seconds, he stepped aside. Fine, come in. But don't be long. I have things to do. I went inside. The house was dim, the curtains drawn, the air heavy. Claire! I shouted. No answer. Claire is in the kitchen, Rodney said, crossing his arms. I went to the kitchen, and what I saw destroyed me. My daughter was there, her back to me, at the stove. Claire. She turned around, and I saw her face was swollen, her eyes red, and on her left cheek there was a fresh red mark. "Mom," she whispered. Rodney appeared behind me. "Your daughter is very clumsy. She hit herself on the cabinet." I looked at him with pure hatred. "She hit herself on the cabinet, or you hit her." His face didn't change. No surprise, no guilt, just contempt. "Ma'am, I suggest you leave. You have no business here. I have every business here. She is my daughter, and she is my son's wife. And as long as she lives in this house, I have the right to correct her when she's wrong." Correct her? That's what you call it? Hitting a woman is correcting her? If she doesn't know how to cook, she has to learn. My wife learned, and Claire will too. Claire started crying. "Mr. Rodney, please, no more. Shut up," he barked. I exploded. I stepped toward him, small, but furious. "Don't you ever scream at her again. Don't you ever lay a hand on her again, because if you do, I'll make you regret it." He laughed a cold, mocking laugh. "What are you going to do? A woman alone? A divorcee? I am divorced. But I am not alone. And if you touch a hair on my daughter's head again, you'll learn what hell feels like. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you." We stared. This time, he was the first to look away. "Get out before I call the police." "Call them. Claire's father is a cop. I'd be delighted if they showed up." That threw him off. Only for a second, but long enough. "Claire, let's go," I said. "She can't leave," Rodney said. "She's an adult. She can leave whenever she wants. Right, Claire?" Claire looked at me. There was so much fear in her eyes, so much pain. "Mom, I can't. Ethan will be mad. Let him be mad. You can't stay here. But he's my husband. And you are my daughter. And I won't let anyone hurt you. Not his father, not him, no one." Claire cried harder. "Mom, I don't know what to do. I do. Trust me." Rodney took a step toward us. "If you take her, Ethan is going to come looking for her, and it won't be pretty. Let him come. I'll be waiting." I took Claire's hand. She trembled, but she didn't let go. "Let's go, honey." We walked out. Rodney didn't stop us, but his gaze. It was pure venom. I put Claire in my car. She cried uncontrollably. "Mom, what am I going to do? Ethan is going to kill me." "No, Claire, no one is going to kill you. I promise." I drove back to my house. Claire didn't stop crying the whole way. When we arrived, I sat her in the living room, made her some chamomile tea, and held her. "Everything's going to be okay, honey. I promise." But deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. Because men like Rodney don't let their victims go easily, and men like Ethan, raised in that violence, don't either. That night, I called Robert. "I need you to come over. Claire is with me, and I think Ethan is going to show up. I'm on my way." Claire spent the night at my house. She didn't say much. She just cried. She hugged herself. She jumped at every noise on the street. I sat beside her on the couch and didn't move. I held her. I stroked her hair like when she was a little girl having nightmares. "It's over, honey. It's over." But it wasn't over. It was just starting. Robert arrived at 9 p.m. He was still in his uniform. When he saw Claire, his face crumbled, his eyes filled with tears. "What did they do to you, my baby?" Claire stood up and ran to hug him. She cried on his chest in a way I hadn't seen in years. "Dad, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. You don't have to apologize, Claire. None of this is your fault." Robert looked at me over her head. His eyes said the same thing mine did. This couldn't continue. We sat in the living room. I made coffee. Claire drank it slowly with shaking hands. "Claire," Robert said softly, "I need you to tell me everything from the beginning. No fear, no shame, everything." Claire looked down. "I don't know where to start." "Start at the beginning. When did this start?" She took a deep breath. I think it started before we even got married, but I didn't notice. Ethan was attentive, but so jealous. If I went out with friends, he'd call every 30 minutes. If I didn't answer quickly, he'd get angry. He'd say I didn't love him, that if I really loved him, I'd always be available. Robert and I shared a look. "I thought it was because he loved me so much," Claire continued. "I thought jealousy was a sign of love, but now I understand it was control." "And his dad?" I asked. When did you meet his dad? I met him a month after we started dating. We went to his place in Indiana. Rodney didn't receive me kindly. He looked me up and down like he was evaluating me, and then he told Ethan in front of me, "She's pretty, but I hope she knows how to cook, because a woman who can't cook isn't fit to be a wife." I winced. "And what did Ethan say?" He laughed. He said, "Don't worry, Dad. If she doesn't know, you'll teach her." Claire sighed. I felt uncomfortable, but I thought it was just his way old school. I thought he'd accept me eventually. "And did he?" Robert asked. "No, never. From the wedding day, he started criticizing me. He said my dress was too simple, that the catering wasn't good, that I invited too many people from my side and not enough from theirs. Everything I did was wrong." "And did Ethan defend you?" Claire shook her head. "No. He just said, 'My dad is right. You have to improve.'" I felt the rage rising in my chest. After the wedding, Claire continued, Rodney started coming over every day. At first, just for dinner. Ethan said his dad was lonely, that since his mom died, he had no one, that it was our duty to take care of him. "Take care of him?" I said. "Or let him control you?" "I didn't see it that way, Mom. I thought I was being a good daughter-in-law, a good wife, but nothing I did was enough. If I made chicken, he wanted steak. If I made steak, he said it was tough. If the house was clean, he'd find dust somewhere. If I smiled, he called me a fool. If I was serious, he called me bitter." Tears began to fall again. "And Ethan? Ethan always took his side. Always. He'd say his dad just wanted to help me, that if I listened, I'd be a better wife." "And when did the hitting start?" Robert asked, his voice tight. Claire closed her eyes. 6 months ago. I was cooking. I made vegetable soup. Rodney arrived, tasted it, and said it was horrible, that it tasted like dishwater. I told him I was sorry and I'd make something else. But he stood up, grabbed the bowl, and threw it against the wall. Shards went everywhere, and then he grabbed my arm and pulled me toward him. My heart was beating so hard it hurt. He told me, "You're useless. My wife cooked 1,000 times better than you." I don't know what my son saw in such a mediocre woman. I started crying. I told him I'd do better, but he squeezed my arm so hard it bruised, and then he shoved me. I fell and hit my hip against the table. Robert stood up, furious. "And where was Ethan?" "In the living room, watching TV. He didn't do a thing. He walked into the kitchen, saw his dad screaming at me, saw me on the floor, and just said, 'Claire, get up and clean this mess. And next time, cook something decent.'" The silence that followed was heavy. "That was the first time," Claire said, "but not the last. From that day on, Rodney became more aggressive. He'd push me, pull my hair, pinch me. And always, with Ethan there, seeing it all and saying nothing. "Why didn't you call me sooner?" Robert asked, his voice breaking. "Because I was ashamed, Dad. Because I thought it was my fault. I thought if I were a better wife, a better cook, a better woman, none of this would happen." "Claire, listen to me," Robert said, kneeling in front of her. "None of this is your fault. None of it. That man is an abuser, and your husband is a coward, and both of them deserve to be in jail. But Dad, I love him. I love Ethan. Loving someone who lets you suffer isn't love, honey. It's fear." Claire covered her face with her hands. "I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get out of this." I leaned in. "You already got out, Claire. You're here with us. You're safe. But Ethan is going to come. He's going to force me to go back. Let him come," Robert said. "I'll be here, and he isn't taking you anywhere. And if he brings his dad even better, I'll arrest him for assault." "But Dad, I don't have proof. I didn't go to the doctor. I didn't take photos of the bruises. The proof is on your body, and your testimony is proof enough. It's sufficient." Claire shook her head. "It won't be enough. Rodney has money. He has connections. He can hire lawyers. He'll say I'm lying, that I'm crazy. Then we'll make sure he can't," I said. They both looked at me. "How?" Robert asked. "Tomorrow, we're going to the district attorney's office. We're filing a formal complaint against Rodney for assault and against Ethan for being an accomplice." "Mom, I can't." "Yes, you can, and you will. Because if you don't do it now, this will keep going, and one day that man will go too far and he'll kill you." Claire went quiet. She knew I was right. "Fine," she said finally. "I'll do it." Robert nodded. "Good. I'll go with you, and I'll make sure this report is taken seriously." We hugged, the three of us. It was a long hug, a broken family, but united, a family that fights back. But that night, something else happened. At 11 p.m., there was a knock on the door. We all froze. "It's him," Claire whispered. Robert stood up and walked to the door. "Who is it?" he asked without opening it. "It's Ethan. I came for my wife. She's not here." "I know she's there. Her mom took her." "I want to talk to her." "There's nothing to talk about. Go away. I'm not leaving without Claire." Ethan's voice sounded desperate, furious. Robert opened the door just enough for Ethan to see his uniform. "I told you to leave. If you don't, I'm arresting you for disturbing the peace." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm warning you. Claire is here of her own will, and she isn't leaving with you. She's my wife. She has to come with me. She's a human being, not your property." Ethan tried to push the door. Robert held it firm. "One more step and I'm handcuffing you." Ethan stopped. He was breathing heavily. His eyes were red as if he'd been crying or drinking or both. "Claire," he shouted. "Claire, come out. We need to talk." Claire stood up from the couch. I tried to stop her, but she signaled for me to wait. She walked to the door. Robert stepped aside. "Ethan," Claire said with a firm voice, "I'm not going back." "What? Why? What did your mom tell you? Is she putting ideas in your head?" "No one put anything in my head. I saw the truth." "What truth?" "That your father hit me and you allowed it." "My father was just teaching you." "No!" Claire screamed. "Your father is abusing me, and you're an accomplice." Ethan went silent. For the first time, he had no answer. "I loved you, Ethan. I really loved you. But I can't live like this anymore. I can't keep pretending everything is fine when it isn't. Claire, please, let's talk. We can fix this. There's nothing to fix. Tomorrow, I'm going to the DA's office. I'm reporting your father, and if I have to, I'm reporting you too." Ethan's face shifted from pleading to fury. "You're going to report me? After everything I did for you? What did you do for me, Ethan? Let me suffer? Let your father humiliate me? That's what you did for me. I gave you a home. I gave you my name. You gave me nothing. You only took. You took my dignity, my peace, my happiness." Ethan took a step back as if Claire's words were physical blows. "You're going to regret this," he said in a cold voice. "Both of you will regret this." Robert stepped in front of him. "Is that a threat?" "No, it's a promise." Robert closed the door and looked at me. "This isn't over. I know. That man will come back. And he'll probably bring his father. I know, Robert. And when they come back, it's going to be ugly. I know. But I don't care. Because this time, I won't let them hurt my daughter." Claire hugged us both. "Thank you. Thank you for not leaving me alone." "You'll never be alone, honey," I said. "Never." That night, we all slept in the living room, Robert on the recliner, Claire and I on the pull-out sofa. I couldn't sleep. I stayed awake watching the door, waiting for another knock, but none came. That scared me more, because men like Rodney and Ethan don't give up easily, and when they come back with everything. The next day dawned with a gray sky, thick clouds, as if even the weather knew what was coming. Claire woke up early with deep dark circles. None of us had slept well. I made coffee and breakfast, eggs and toast. I tried to make things seem normal, but nothing was. Robert arrived at 8 a.m. He wasn't in uniform. He was wearing jeans, a white shirt, and a dark jacket. "Ready?" he asked Claire. She nodded, but her hands were shaking. "I'll be with you the whole time," I said, taking her hand. "You aren't alone." "I know, Mom, but I'm scared." "It's normal to be scared. But fear can't stop you. You already took the hardest step. Now you just have to keep moving." We left the house and got into Robert's car. I sat in the back with Claire. She clung to my hand like it was a lifeline. No one talked much on the way, just the sound of the engine and the city waking up. We reached the courthouse at 9:30 a.m. It was a gray, cold building full of tired people who had seen too much. Like us, Robert knew some of the officers. He helped us navigate the bureaucracy. He took us to a small office where a woman in her 40s with glasses and pulled back hair was waiting. "Good morning. I'm Assistant DA Mendez. I understand you're here to report domestic violence." Claire nodded. "Yes. Very well. I need you to tell me everything slowly and with as much detail as possible, okay?" Claire took a deep breath and started talking. She told her everything from the beginning: the jealousy, the rules, the first hit, the soup, the bruises, the constant fear. Ada Mendez took notes. Her face was neutral, but her eyes said she'd heard this story 1,000 times, with 1,000 different faces, but always the same story. "Do you have physical evidence? Photos of the bruises? Medical reports?" Claire shook her head. "No, I was afraid Ethan would find out. There are witnesses. A neighbor, Sarah." She heard the screaming. Robert interjected, "I can get her testimony." "Perfect. That helps," said the ADA. "And the primary aggressor is the father-in-law, Rodney Miller?" "Yes. And your husband, Ethan Miller? Has he also physically assaulted you?" Claire hesitated. "Not directly. But he allowed it. He watched his father hit me and did nothing. It's as if he were hitting me too." The ADA nodded. "That is called complicity, and it's a crime. I'll include both in the report." "What happens now?" I asked. "We're going to issue a summons for Rodney Miller. He'll have to come in for questioning. If there's sufficient evidence, he'll be arrested. As for Ethan, he'll also have to testify, and depending on his statement, he could face charges for failure to render aid. And Claire, is she protected? We're issuing an order of protection immediately. Neither Rodney nor Ethan can come near Claire. If they do, they will be arrested on the spot." Claire started crying. "And if they don't respect the order? That's why your father is here," the ADA said, looking at Robert. "He can protect you, and we can too. But you have to be strong, Claire. This is just the beginning." Claire signed the complaint. Her hands shook so much she could barely hold the pen. But she did it. She signed. We left the courthouse with a copy of the report and the protection order. But paper doesn't stop bullets. It doesn't stop blows. It doesn't stop men full of rage. And I knew it. We went back to my house. Claire stayed in her old room, the room where she grew up, where she was happy. I made lunch, trying to stay busy, but my hands were shaking. My mind kept imagining what Rodney and Ethan would do when they got served. At 3 p.m., my phone rang. An unknown number. I answered. "Hello?" Silence. "Hello?" I repeated. And then, a voice that made my blood freeze. "Miss Vance, it's Rodney." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. "What do you want?" "I want you to give Claire back." "Claire isn't mine to give back. She chose to leave, and she chose to report you. That report isn't going anywhere. I have lawyers. I have connections. I can make it disappear. Try it. But Claire isn't going back to you or your son. You don't understand, ma'am. You're destroying a family. You're putting ideas in Claire's head. You're making my son suffer. Your son is suffering? And what about Claire? What about the suffering you caused her?" "I was just educating her, teaching her how to be a good wife, like my wife was. Your wife died sad and alone. I don't want that for my daughter." There was a long, tense silence. "You're going to regret this," he said finally. "People keep saying that." "I don't care." I hung up. My hands were trembling. I called Robert. Rodney called. He threatened me. "What did he say?" "That I'd regret it. That he has lawyers. That he'll make the report disappear." "He can't. It's in the system. He can hire whoever he wants, but this won't go away." "But Robert, that man is dangerous." "I know. That's why I'm staying here with you. I'm not letting anything happen to you guys." "Thanks." I hung up. Claire came down from her room. Her eyes were red. "Who was that?" I didn't want to lie. "Rodney." Her face went pale. "What did he say?" "Nothing important. Just empty threats." "Mom, he doesn't make empty threats. If he said something, he'll do it. That's why your dad is here, and that's why we aren't leaving this house until this is resolved." Claire nodded, but I knew she was terrified. That night, Robert brought a bag and stayed in the guest room. He put his service weapon on the nightstand just in case. We ate dinner in silence. Soup, bread, nothing elaborate, just enough to fill our stomachs. At 10 p.m., Claire went to sleep. I stayed in the living room with Robert. "Do you think Ethan will come?" I asked. "I don't know, but if he does, he won't be alone." "Do you think he'll bring Rodney?" "It's possible." "And what do? We call the police. I can arrest them for violating the protection order, and if they get here before the police do?" Robert looked at me. "Then I stop them." "Robert, I don't want anything to happen to you. Nothing will happen to me. But I'm not letting anything happen to Claire or you either." I stood up and hugged him. "Thanks for everything." "Don't thank me. She's my daughter. I'll always protect her." I went to bed but couldn't sleep. I lay there listening to every sound, every car passing, every dog barking. And then, at 2 a.m., I heard it. An engine stopped in front of the house. I got up, went to the window, and peeked through the curtain. It was Ethan's car, and he wasn't alone. Rodney was with him. My heart started beating so fast I thought it would burst. They got out of the car. Ethan was carrying something. I couldn't see what it was. Rodney walked with heavy, determined steps. I ran to Robert's room. "Robert, they're here." He was up instantly. He grabbed his gun and went to the window. "Damn it," he whispered. "What do we do?" "Stay with Claire. I'm going out." "No, Robert, don't go out. Call the police." "I already did, but they'll be a few minutes, and I can't let them get near the house." He went out. I ran to Claire's room. She was awake, trembling. "What's happening, Mom? Ethan and Rodney are here." No. She started crying. "What do they want?" "I don't know, but your dad is out there. He won't let them in." We hugged. We heard voices outside shouting, "Claire, come out. We need to talk." It was Ethan's voice. "I'm not coming out," Claire shouted from the window. "Go away. I'm not leaving without you." "She's not coming out," Robert shouted. "If you don't leave, I'm arresting you." "You have no authority here," Rodney shouted. "This is a family matter." It stopped being a family matter when you put your hands on her. There was a struggle, shouting, and then a sound I will never forget. A gunshot. Claire screamed. I screamed. We ran to the window. Robert was on the ground, bleeding. I still wonder if I did the right thing. What would you have done in my place? Everything happened in slow motion. I saw Robert on the ground. I saw the blood. I saw Ethan with a gun in his hand, trembling. His eyes were wide, as if he couldn't believe what he'd just done. I saw Rodney standing still, his face hard, showing nothing, as if this was exactly what he expected, as if it were part of the plan. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. My body just moved. I ran out of the house toward Robert. Claire screamed behind me, but I didn't stop. I knelt beside him. He was conscious. He was breathing with difficulty. Blood was soaking his left shoulder. "Robert, Robert, look at me." I'm okay, he whispered. "It's just the shoulder." I took off my cardigan and pressed it against the wound. He winced. Hold on. The ambulance is coming." I looked up. Ethan was still standing there, the gun hanging from his hand, paralyzed in shock. Rodney took a step toward us. "It was self-defense," he said in a cold voice. "He threatened us." He drew his weapon. "My son just defended himself." "Liar!" I screamed. "You came here. You violated the protection order. You attacked him." "There are no witnesses," Rodney said. "It's our word against yours. And I'm a veteran. Who are they going to believe?" "I'm a witness!" Claire shouted from the doorway. "I saw everything!" Rodney looked at her with contempt. "No one is going to believe a hysterical woman who reported her own family. They'll think you're lying, like always." Claire started walking toward us. She was shaking, crying, but she kept walking. "I'm not lying, and I'm going to tell the truth, even if it costs me everything." Ethan looked at her. For the first time since getting out of the car, he spoke. "Claire, I didn't want to. He was going to what, Ethan?" Claire said, her voice broken but firm. "Protect me? That's what he was doing. Protecting me from your father. Protecting me from you. Claire, please. Understand. I didn't know it would happen like this." "You knew. You always knew. You knew when your father screamed at me the first time. You knew when he pushed me. You knew when he hit me. And you did nothing. You never did anything. Ethan dropped the gun. He covered his face and started sobbing. I just wanted you to be like my mom. She never complained. She always obeyed. Your mother died sad, Ethan. She died alone. She died without love. Is that what you wanted for me? He didn't answer. He just cried. Rodney looked at him with disgust. You're a coward, he told his son, just like your mother. And at that moment, something shifted in Ethan's face. Something broke. He looked at his father, and for the first time in his life, he answered back, No, the coward is you. You who hit my mom for years, you who made her feel worthless, you who killed her bit by bit, and I let you do the same to Claire because I learned from you. Because I thought that's how you treat a wife. Rodney slapped him. Shut up! Ethan didn't move. He just looked at him with tears in his eyes. No, I'm not shutting up anymore. I'm not obeying you. I'm not going to be like you. Sirens began to wail in the distance. Rodney looked toward the street. His face changed. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Let's go, he told Ethan. No, Ethan said. I'm staying. What? I'm staying. I'm going to face what I did. I'm going to tell the truth. If you tell the truth, you're going to prison. I know, and I deserve it. Rodney grabbed his arm. Don't be stupid. We can still fix this. Ethan pulled away. There's nothing to fix. Not anymore. The police cars arrived, 3 cars. Officers jumped out with guns drawn. Hands up! Everyone on the ground! Rodney raised his hands. Ethan knelt. The police handcuffed them. The ambulance arrived 2 minutes later. Paramedics checked Robert. They said the bullet had gone through the shoulder, he'd lost blood, but he'd be okay. They loaded him into the ambulance. I wanted to go with him. But Claire grabbed my hand. Mom, stay with me, please. I stayed. The police took our statements, mine, Claire's, and the neighbors who had come out after the shot. Rodney said nothing. He just stared at the ground with a clenched jaw. Ethan, however, spoke. He told them everything. That his father had abused Claire, that he had allowed it, that they had come that night to take her by force, that Robert had tried to stop them, that his father had given him the gun, and that in a moment of fear and rage, he had fired. I didn't want to kill him, he said, sobbing. I just wanted him to leave us alone, but my father said if I didn't shoot, he would. And He couldn't finish. He collapsed. The police took Rodney and Ethan away in separate cars. Rodney would be charged with domestic violence, stalking, and violating a protection order. Ethan would be charged with attempted murder, complicity, and violating a protection order. Both would face years in prison. Claire and I were left alone on the street. It was 3 a.m. The neighborhood was awake, everyone watching, everyone whispering, but I didn't care. I hugged my daughter. I hugged her so hard I thought she'd break. It's over, honey. It's over. And Dad is going to be fine, I promise. We went inside. I locked the door. I closed the curtains, and we sat on the couch. Claire wouldn't stop trembling. Mom, Ethan shot Dad. I know. It's my fault. No, Claire. It was never your fault. It was Rodney's fault. It was Ethan's fault. It was the fault of men who learned that violence is power. But I loved him. I know, honey. But love isn't enough. Love without respect, without dignity, without peace. It isn't love. It's destruction. Claire cried on my chest. She cried like I'd never seen her cry. She cried out everything she'd been holding in the fear, the pain, the shame, and I let her, because sometimes crying is the only way to start healing. The days that followed were difficult. Robert was in the hospital for a week. The bullet had damaged some nerves. He needed surgery and physical therapy, but he survived. When I visited him, I found him sitting up in bed with his arm in a sling, watching TV. Hey, I said. Hey, he replied with a tired smile. I sat beside him. Thanks for protecting us. You don't have to thank me. It was my duty. It was more than a duty. It was love. A father's love. He nodded, his eyes filling with tears. How's Claire? Better. Little by little. She's going to therapy. She's rebuilding her life. And Ethan? In pretrial detention, waiting for a court date. His lawyer says he's pleading guilty, that he'll accept his sentence. And Rodney? Also in jail, but he's still denying everything. He says he's innocent, that Claire is lying, that I manipulated her. Robert sighed. Men like him never take responsibility. Never. I know. But it doesn't matter anymore. Because Claire is free, and that's all that matters. Robert took my hand. You did the right thing, Adrienne. You saved our daughter. No. We saved her together. We stayed in silence, a comfortable silence. Two people who, though no longer a couple, were still a team. 6 months passed. Rodney was sentenced to 8 years in state prison for aggravated domestic battery and stalking. Ethan was sentenced to 5 years for attempted homicide, with the possibility of parole for cooperating with the prosecution. Claire got her divorce. The process was quick. Ethan didn't contest it. He signed everything without a fight. And slowly, my daughter started smiling again. She started coming over on Sundays again. She started drinking coffee with me again. She started telling me her plans. I want to open that school, Mom. The one I always dreamed of. Then open it. Do you think I can? I know you can. Because you're strong, stronger than you think. She smiled. And that smile was real. It was free. One day, sitting at the kitchen table, Claire told me something I'll never forget. Mom, thank you for not giving up on me. I was never going to give up, honey. You're my daughter. And a mother never abandons her daughter, but many mothers do. Many women are going through what I went through, and no one helps them, no one listens. That's why you have to tell your story, Claire. So other women know they aren't alone, that they can get out, that they can heal. Do you really think so? I know so. And that's what she did. Claire started giving talks at community centers to women who had suffered violence, women who were afraid to leave, women who thought there was no hope. And she told them the truth, that leaving is hard, it hurts, it's terrifying, but it's worth it. Because life after abuse is possible, peace is possible, happiness is possible. And I, her mother, was there for every talk, every tear, every smile. Because that's what mothers do. We stay, we protect, we fight, even if it costs us everything. 2 years have passed since that night. 2 years in which life taught us that justice doesn't always come fast, but it always comes. Rodney served his time in a state penitentiary. According to a lawyer friend of Robert's, the man who was once a veteran and struck fear with his mere presence had become someone else. In prison, no one feared him. No one respected him. The inmates knew why he was there. Violence against women in prison, that's a mark. A mark that follows you and isolates you. Rodney was no longer the tough guy who shouted and hit. He was an old man, hunched over, eating alone, walking with his head down. No one wanted to be near him. One day I got a call. It was from the prison hospital. Rodney had suffered a heart attack. It wasn't fatal, but it wasn't minor either. His heart was weak. The doctor told me Rodney had asked to speak with someone from his family, his son, his daughter-in-law. But Ethan refused. He said he had nothing to say to him, that his father had died to him the day he forced him to shoot Robert. And Claire refused too, not with rage, not with hate. She simply said, I've already forgiven him, but that doesn't mean I have to see him. So Rodney stayed alone in that hospital bed. No family, no visitors, no one to hold his hand as his heart failed. He once called me crazy. He once told me I was destroying his family. Years later, I knew he was alone in that hospital. Life always collects its debts. I didn't feel joy. But I didn't feel pity either. Just a sense of balance. Because Rodney spent his final years exactly how he made so many women feel. Alone, afraid, and powerless. Ethan was released from prison after 3 years. His sentence was reduced for good behavior and for his cooperation. When he got out, he had nowhere to go. His house had been sold to pay for lawyers. His father was still in prison. And Claire? Claire had moved on. He tried calling her once, twice, 10 times. She never answered. Until one day, Claire decided to see him. Not because she wanted to go back, not because she missed him, but because she needed to close that chapter of her life. They met at a coffee shop, a public, neutral place. I wanted to go with her, but Claire told me, No, Mom. I have to do this alone. I waited outside on a bench, watching people pass by, praying in silence. 30 minutes later, Claire came out. Her eyes were red, but she wasn't crying. Are you okay? I asked. Yes, I'm fine. What happened? He asked for forgiveness. He told me he'd been in therapy, that he understood the damage he did, that if he could go back, he'd do everything differently. And what did you say? I told him I forgave him. But I also told him that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, or going back, or giving him another chance. How did he react? He cried. He said he understood, that he didn't expect anything from me. He just wanted me to know he was changing, trying to be better. Did you believe him? Claire thought for a moment. I don't know, Mom. Maybe he is changing, or maybe he just learned how to say the right words. But it's no longer my responsibility to know. It's not my problem anymore. I hugged her. I'm proud of you, honey. Thanks, Mom, for everything. That was the last time Claire saw Ethan. Months later, I heard through a friend that Ethan had moved to another state, that he was working in construction, living alone, having no partner, and not speaking to anyone about his past. Some might say that's sad that a man deserves a second chance. And maybe he does. But not with the woman he hurt, not with the family he destroyed. Ethan lost Claire forever, and that was his greatest sentence, greater than prison, greater than his father's rejection. He lost the love of a good woman, and that's something he'll never get back. Robert recovered completely well, almost. His left arm never regained its full strength. He had to leave active duty and move to an administrative position. At first, he was frustrated. He said he missed the streets, the action, feeling useful, but over time, he found another way to be useful. He started giving talks at high schools about domestic violence, how to recognize signs of abuse, how to protect the women in their families. And the kids listened because Robert didn't talk like a cop. He talked like a father, like a man who had seen the pain up close, who had bled to protect his daughter. One day, after one of his talks, a 17-year-old boy approached him. Officer Robert, my dad hits my mom, and I don't know what to do. Robert knelt in front of him and looked him in the eye. You do know what to do. You have to protect her. You have to tell her she isn't alone, and you have to find help. But how? My dad is strong. I can't. You don't have to fight him. You just have to break the silence. Talk to a teacher, an uncle, the police. Silence is what kills. The voice is what saves. The boy cried, and Robert held him. That night, Robert told me what had happened, and as he spoke, I saw tears in his eyes. Adrienne, if I had talked to Claire sooner, if I had asked more, if I had pushed. Don't blame yourself, Robert. You did everything you could, and when Claire needed you, you were there. That's what matters. He nodded. But there are so many Claires out there. So many women suffering and no one doing anything. That's why you talk. That's why Claire talks. So those women know there's a way out. Robert smiled. You're right. As for me, my life changed too. After everything that happened, I couldn't go back to my routine as if nothing had changed. I couldn't keep going to work, auditing numbers, living as if I hadn't seen what I saw. I resigned from my firm after 30 years. My colleagues didn't understand. My boss didn't either. But I did. I understood that life is short, that time is precious, and that there are things more important than a salary. I used my savings to open something I'd always dreamed of, a shelter for women who are victims of violence. It wasn't big, just a small house on the outskirts of the city with 3 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a living room. But it was a safe place. A place where women like Claire could show up without money, without papers, without questions, just with their pain and their hope. Claire helped me. Robert helped too. We got donations, volunteers, pro bono lawyers, psychologists who offered free therapy. And slowly, that small house filled with life, with women who arrived broken and left whole, with children who arrived terrified and left playing, with stories that arrived in silence and left out loud. One day, a woman in her 40s arrived at the shelter. She had 2 small children. She had a black eye and a split lip. "Can I stay?" she asked with a trembling voice. "Of course you can. This is your home now." She cried and hugged her kids. "Thank you. Thank you for not closing the door on me. We never close the door here. Never." That night, While I was making dinner for all the women in the shelter, I thought about Rodney, about Ethan, about all the men who use their strength to destroy. And I thought about justice, not the justice of courts or laws, but the justice of karma, the justice of life. Rodney ended up alone, Ethan ended up empty, and us? We ended up together, strong, rebuilt. That is the greatest justice, the kind no one can take from you. Today, as I write these words, it has been 5 years since that night, 5 years since the shot, the screams, the fear. 5 years in which I learned that pain can be transformed into wisdom, that wounds can become scars that tell stories, and that a mother's love is the most powerful force in the universe. Claire is 31 now. She opened her school. She called it Seeds of Hope. It's small but beautiful, full of colors, laughter, and kids running around. She is happy, whole, and free. She met someone, a good man, a teacher like her, someone who treats her with respect, tenderness, and real love. The first time she introduced him, I was nervous. I was afraid of being wrong again, of trusting someone who didn't deserve it. But when I saw him with Claire, when I saw how he looked at her, how he listened, how he made her laugh, I knew this time was different. "Mom, I want you to meet Andrew." Andrew shook my hand and looked me in the eye. "It's an honor to meet you, Miss Vance. Claire has told me so much about you, everything you did for her. I only did what any mother would do. No, not any mother. You saved her. And for that, I will always respect you, and I will always take care of Claire the way you did." My eyes filled with tears. "I only ask one thing, Andrew. Love her. Don't control her. Love her for real. I promise." And he has kept his promise. Last year, Claire and Andrew got married. It was a small, intimate wedding in a garden full of white flowers. Robert walked her down the aisle. I cried out of happiness, relief, and gratitude. Because this time, my daughter chose well. This time, my daughter found the love she deserved. Robert keeps giving talks, keeps saving lives with his words. He remarried too, a good, quiet woman who loves and cares for him. He and I are still friends, still a team, because even though our marriage didn't work, our family did. And that's what matters. The shelter grew. It's not just a small house anymore. Now we have 2 houses, 12 rooms, capacity for 20 women and their children. Every month, new stories arrive, new tears, new hopes. And every month, I see women who arrive broken and leave whole. Women who arrive with fear and leave with courage. A few days ago, a woman in her 60s came to the shelter. She had an old suitcase, swollen eyes, and trembling hands. "Can I stay?" she asked. "Of course. Come in." She entered, sat in the living room, and started talking. "I was married for 40 years. 40 years of enduring, 40 years of silence. I thought it was too late, that at my age, there was no point in leaving. But today, my granddaughter told me something that changed my life. She told me, 'Grandma, it's never too late to be happy.'" She cried, and I cried with her. "Your granddaughter is right," I told her. "It's never too late. As long as we have breath, we can start over." She smiled, a tired but real smile. "Thank you. Thank you for opening this door. This door is always open for you, for everyone. Sometimes, when I'm alone, I think about everything that happened, Rodney, Ethan, that night of blood and screams, and I wonder if I did the right thing, if I could have done things differently, if I could have spared Claire so much pain. But then I see her. I see my daughter smiling. I see her free. I see her alive. And I understand that yes, I did the right thing. Because a mother can't prevent her children from suffering, but she can be there when they do. She can hold them. She can fight for them. She can remind them they aren't alone. And that's what I did. That's what I'll always do. There is something I've learned in these years, something I want to share with every woman listening to this story. If you are in a relationship where they scream at you, where they control you, where they make you feel small, get out. Please, get out. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait for the hits to get harder. Don't wait for your light to be extinguished completely, because you are worth more, so much more. It doesn't matter how old you are, how long you've been there, or how many times they've told you that you can't. You can, and you aren't alone. There are women like me, like Claire, like everyone who has passed through the shelter. Women who will believe you, who will support you, who will walk with you. You just have to take the first step, the hardest, the most important. The step toward the door. A few months ago, I received a letter. It had no return address, just my name handwritten on the envelope. I opened it. It was from Ethan. It said, "Miss Vance, I know I have no right to ask you for anything. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, or Claire's, or anyone's, but I want you to know that every day I think about what I did. Every day I carry that weight, and every day I try to be better. Not to win Claire back, I understand that. I lost her forever, and that's only fair. But so that if I ever have children, I don't repeat my father's mistakes, so the cycle ends with me. Thank you for saving Claire. Thank you for doing what I didn't have the courage to do. With respect, Ethan." I read the letter several times. I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel forgiveness. I felt nothing, because Ethan is no longer a part of our lives. It doesn't matter what he feels, what he thinks, or what he does. The only thing that matters is that Claire is okay, that she's alive, that she's happy. I tucked the letter in a drawer and never read it again. Today, as the sun sets behind the skyscrapers, I sit on my porch. I have a mug of coffee in my hands, the same mug Claire used when she was a little girl. I think about the long road traveled, all we lost, and all we gained. And I understand that life isn't perfect. It doesn't always have happy endings. Justice sometimes takes time, pain sometimes lasts years, and scars never truly fade. But I also understand that life goes on, love goes on, hope goes on, and as long as there are women willing to fight, to break the silence, to open doors, there will be a future, there will be freedom, there will be peace. If my story helps just one woman open her eyes, it was worth it. If my story helps just one mother act, it was worth it. If my story helps just one person understand that real love doesn't hurt, it was worth it. Because stories aren't just told to remember the past, they are told to change the future. And this is my gift to you, to all of you, to every woman who needs to hear that it is possible, there is a way out, and there is life after the pain. Thank you for listening to me until the end. Thank you for being here. Thank you for believing me. And if you are going through something similar, if you know someone who is suffering, please act. Don't wait, don't doubt, don't be afraid. Because silence kills, but the voice saves. And together, we can save so many more. May God bless you. Thank you for listening to my story. If this touched your heart, share it with someone you love. Sometimes, a story like this can change everything.